This is the CNC Router Tips Podcast, episode 24.
And it all came from him building the machine himself.
And we got to watch his design process while he was designing the thing.
Yeah, it's like having your own private think tank.
This is the CNC Router Tips Podcast, a show which answers one question from you, the listener, about CNC router tables, CNC software, hardware, web hosting, and business. I'll help you get started in your CNC hobby or business and help you cut through the confusion.
Today's episode is sponsored by TheMakersGuide.com. The Maker's Guide. Useful tools for makers.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 25th episode of the CNC Router Tips Podcast. I am so grateful and excited to be here today to record this 25th episode. To me, it's kind of a big deal. I think I've said before in the episodes that most podcasts don't make it past 7 episodes because people just have no idea what's involved in putting one together and, lose focus before getting into it. In a lot of cases, it's just not what they expected. So to me, it's a really nice thing that we're still chugging along and everything is great. So I'm very happy. Now today we're going to finish up part 2 of our interview with Joe Cantrill from the joecnc.com forum and community. It's been fun talking to Joe because he's someone that whose work I've admired and who really goes out of his way to over deliver on what it is that he makes. So I think you're going to enjoy the second half. We're going to pick up in just a moment. But before we get into the interview, I'll just give you a couple of quick updates on some things that are happening around the CNC Router Tips Facebook community. And, some of you may know that we have a private Facebook group that we get together and share all of our information on CNCs and what we're doing and how we're doing it. And I'm very happy to say that today, February 4th, we hit 2,300 members. And so I'm very proud of that because, as you may recall just a little bit ago, we just hit 2,000 members. So we've gone up 3,000 members 300 members. I'd really like to go up 3,000, but we've gone up 300 members in just a few short weeks. So that's really very fun to experience. And I like the way that the folks in the group are rooting for each other and saying, yeah, man, we're growing fast. So even though the community is growing, it still has a friendly neighborhood feel to it. And people are constantly helping each other out and sharing. And so I just like to say kudos to everyone in the Facebook group. I really appreciate the fact that you're there, and I enjoy talking with you every day. If you would like to check out the CNC Router Tips Facebook group and see, what it's all about, I will put a link in the show notes. You can access the show notes at CNCRoutertips.com/25. That's CNCRoutertips.com/25. Okay, let's get right to it and pick up where we left off. Let's describe the Evo in a little more detail as far as the size and what's on an Evo.
Well, the Evo, the difference in between the Evo and the hybrid machine, well, the name hybrid came about. I was trying to think of a name of the machine, and it's made out of metal for the base, the 80/20 aluminum. So you've got some steel, you got aluminum, you got the MDF, and it's got HDPE parts. So, it's a whole bunch of hybrid parts put together. So That's how I came up with the name of that.
Mm-hmm. I always wondered about that. So, yeah.
Yeah. So the main difference of the Evo machine is, like you mentioned, the gantry beam. The original hybrid used a 2-inch by 4-inch 80/20. And, we've had people do mods. They would put a steel plate on the outside of it and, face it up with that and stiffen it up. That was one of the limitations of it. You can't take real hard, deep cuts because you get a little flex in it. So the Evolution machine uses a 3-inch by 6-inch 80/20. It uses 4 rails on the top to lock it in, and it's all, the whole thing to me, I always go back to the box. A box is stronger than a plate there. So I have my front plate and the back plate on the X-axis, bolted together. It's all one unit, and it moves in unison. And then the side plates are all aluminum onto the V rails, or we use angle irons. And a lot of people, they use V rails for the number 2 bearings. They'll do that modification. And my bearing adjusters, what I did, instead of having fixed bearings in positions, I have all the bearings are adjustable. So you can actually raise a little height on it and even it out by fixing the back bearings and then adjusting the front bearings, or vice versa. Whatever you need to do to tram that machine, you can do it by one bearing or another.
Okay. You don't find it harder? You don't find it harder to adjust four, well, actually 8 bearings with none of them being fixed, or it's just one of those things
No,
you have
not
to tweak?
really. Because once you get one set, either the back or the front, locked in position, you're just tilting it with the other 2.
Okay.
The bottom bearings are just there to keep it from lifting, the gantry lifting.
Okay. So you're able to tram the router, and by that we mean to make it perpendicular in all 4 directions by adjusting these bearings.
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I knew that you had gone to the 4 adjustable bearings. I never actually talked to you about it. What was your thought process was behind it. So that makes sense.
Well, the reason on the adjustable bearings was, once you've got your gantry built, you can actually raise or lower for a whole side too. You're not locked into one position on that. Because then you would have to start undoing the 80/20 and start fiddling around with that. And if you've bolted the 80/20 together with your square, you want to keep it square.
Right. Okay.
So you can use the bearings. If you've got one side, that's a little lower, you can actually, raise both of those up to adjust it that way also. And then once you get them, your gantry level, by doing that, then you can lock 2 and then adjust the tilting, or what is actually called nod of a CNC machine or a mill or whatever. It's a nod.
And the other thing,
forward.
One of the other things that you did that was a departure from your previous machines was you went to a commercially available Z-axis. What was the reason for that?
The simplicity of it. It's easier for people to just take a 1-unit Z-axis and just bolt it to the front of the machine, and don't have to worry about building that portion of the machine square.
It's obviously working there. Every Evo that I've seen, and Evo stands for evolution. For those who aren't familiar with it,
we actually came up with that name in the forum. Yeah, we were trying to decide what to call it. I had asked people, and then they threw out some names, and the name Evolution stuck because the machine it keeps on evolving.
Yeah, it does, and I love it because I keep checking back on the forum just to see, okay, what are they doing next? And every once in a while I'll throw something in there too. Everybody in the forum does that, which is really great.
Yeah, the one thing about the machine also is, you can modify the machine yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very easy, really, because building it yourself, every nut and bolt on that machine.
Yeah, and it's much easier to fix it that way too. We've had a lot of guys who have done some pretty radical modifications. One fella built a 12-foot by 6-foot version.
Yeah.
And he uses it pretty regularly. I think he's now doing commercial signs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. He switched or he built it with the V rails, which are hardened steel on the V rails. They're specifically designed for that application, and he just built it that big.
Yeah,
and it just sings along for him.
Oh yeah, and that's another thing with the design. Even going back to anything but maybe the lead screw machine, if you wanted to make it bigger, you didn't lose what you already had. All you had to do was get some more 80/20 and butt them together and put a plate on, and now you have a longer machine. Maybe change the base a little bit.
Yeah, the only thing that you would have to get differently if you wanted to expand your machine out would be your rails. Mm-hmm. Because, you want a continuous smooth travel on that. But the 80/20 and any of the angle iron or, anything attaching the rails to the bed, all you do is just put a plate on there and extend it out.
Yep. So there are a lot of folks who've done that. I know immediately after I built mine, I wanted it to be 4 foot by 8 foot, but it's still 4 by 4. Just from a garage space standpoint, that's what I can fit in the garage.
Yeah, people have to realize that just because you say a 4 by 4 machine, that's not the footprint of the machine. That's your cutting area. Because, we've had a couple of new people, I won't say new, but in the past, people just join up and they think, well, it's a 4 by 4 machine, so I can put it over in that corner of my garage and everything's hunky-dory. But, a basic 4 by 4 machine is going to have a footprint of 6 by 6.
Yeah. Yeah, and you have no idea just how big it is until you build it, because the plans will trick your eyes. And that's on any CNC machine. You just really have no idea in 3D space how big something is.
Yep.
So we've also seen guys shrink them down. There's one fellow who built a 2 by 3 version that I recall. Yep. So
it's very scalable.
It's a good set of plans. I just recently did a podcast episode. In fact, it was the last podcast. I shouldn't say that because I'm not exactly sure when this one will fall into the line. But I recently did a podcast episode about CNC plans that are out, and I included the Joe CNC hybrid in amongst the plans that I mentioned. So where was it going?
Yeah, I actually listened to that one. That was a good podcast. What I liked about it is because you gave people the options. Somebody doesn't have to do a Joe CNC by any means. I mean, they can build their own, or they can go with a different design, or it's whatever tickles your fancy, really.
Yeah, there's been several spin-off designs from yours as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So yeah, it's just nice. I know that I gained a very good portion of my CNC knowledge from the forum and from you and from the interaction I had with other people, and it's kind of nice to be able to get folks to hear from you, Joe, and to get a little bit of a feel for what you're doing.
Yeah, the forum, I'm on there just about every day. Mm-hmm. So it's not like some forums where somebody starts a forum and then you hear from them for a year or so, and then they fade off, and then you've got a forum that's just kind of like floating on its own and no direction or anything. Mm-hmm. But actually, I mean, on the forum, there's very, very, if any, moderation on the forum,
Mm-hmm.
because the people are so great there, it's not even needed.
And I like that about it. We can joke back and forth with each other, and it never gets ugly. It's just great.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've been on some forums that I've left the forums because of that.
Yeah, I have too. So now we've talked about your current machine, the Evo, and
Mm-hmm.
what you're doing with that. What's next for Joe? What's next? What's on your horizon, Joe?
Well, I actually finished building a desktop machine, and it's a little heavy-duty machine. Actually, there's two of them built now.
Mm-hmm.
A guy that lives close to me that's on the forum, Joseph, he's Gumby on the forum. He was building his as I was building mine. I wanted to have another one for another point of view in somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
How easy it was for him to build it. What he thinks about it and everything like that. And that machine, it's a little tough little thing, and I call it the Titan. Took me a little bit to come up with that name on that one,
Mm-hmm.
but it's just it's a beefy little machine. It uses a lot of the characteristics of the Evolution machine, as far as you got side plates, you got the 80-20 uprights, the 80-20 beams going across. But I went with ball screws on that machine, 1605 ball screws. One single one in the center of the y-axis, and the X, and then I slapped a V-lock slide on there.
Mm-hmm.
Because, once again, for the easiness of it, you get that bolted on, you're done. And that one uses, like I say, the ball screws and high wind rails with the blocks and everything. So,
so
it's really locked in.
So linear rails and ball screws. So this is a very precision, rugged machine that you're building desktop.
Yeah, yes.
What's the use that you envision people putting it to?
Oh, just anything really. Actually, yesterday I cut a 1/4-inch steel plate on it myself. On mine, I was cutting out some barbecue pit parts for a friend of mine.
With a Hitachi?
Yeah, no. I actually modified that and put a spindle head on it. I won't say spindle head, a mill head on it from a Harbor Freight machine.
Oh, okay.
Little mini mill.
Mm-hmm.
I put that head on there because I just wanted to try it, something different. I may switch back to the Hitachi. I don't know yet.
Uh-huh. So
it was just a little modification I wanted to try.
So this desktop machine is built strong enough to carry a mini milling head.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that opens up all the metals at the proper speed, so you can use the proper end mills that you would use.
That's right.
Metal.
Well, and people can put a spindle on it. They can do anything on it they want. Really,
mm-hmm.
It's not limited.
Yeah.
It's basically just if you can bolt it to your drop plate, you can mill with it.
Yeah, that's a nice option because you can, you could go with the Chinese spindle, you could go with the Hitachi router, you could go with the mill head, whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish.
Yeah, on Joseph's Titan, he put the Hitachi router on
mm-hmm.
his, and he, if you're on the forum, he cuts gun grips, knife grips. He started cutting bait boxes
mm-hmm.
on it. He does all kinds of inlays with it, everything, and the accuracy of it is the accuracy of the ball screws.
He did some Punisher style grips for the gun, if I recall, with the little skulls and everything on. Yeah.
Yeah, he does. He's getting more and more into the inlays on that.
Mm-hmm.
His main deal is the 1911 grips,
Yeah.
and he's branching out to other types of grips and things. But yeah, he does quite a bit of engraving work with it. Um, all kinds of things with the machine.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it, he has no complaints of it at all.
One of the reasons that I do this podcast and the Facebook group and I'm active in the forums is because I like to share this sort of thing. I mean, I come from a background where my grandparents, they owned a farm, and they always, during harvest season, they would go out and take a little truck out and, sell the folks who were doing the harvest, sodas and, snacks and things to, there's just, they always had that entrepreneurial spirit going. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And, my father passed that on to me a little bit. And part of the reason I do this is because I like to emphasize the fact that anybody can go out and create their own destiny by doing something on their own. And
that's right.
That's why I think your plans are such a big contribution to this community because one fellow, I'm just going to name his first name, Patrick. He's going out and he's doing commercial signage, where he's talking, 6-figure signs on occasions, sometimes 7, probably.
That's right.
And it's all based off of what he got from $100 investment in some plans.
Mm-hmm.
That's just amazing to me. And he's not the only one.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, there's every once in a while I get an email of people, that tells me their story.
Today's episode is sponsored by The Maker's Guide, creator of the Triple Edge Finder. Get the edge you need, save time and frustration on your CNC project, and make setup a snap. Save time and material. Set up your workpiece on your CNC Router Table faster than ever. Accurately set your Z-axis height first time, every time. Automatically locate the corner or edge of a workpiece. Reset your starting point in the middle of a program. Quality crafted right here in the USA on US-made CNC machines. Get the edge you need today. Go to www.themakersguide.com/edge. The Maker's Guide. Useful tools for makers.
Oh yeah, there's every once in a while I get an email of people, that tells me their story, and it really inspires me because this is not a really a business to me. For me, I've got a full-time job, and I do this hobby, kind of thing. Yes, I cut plates for people, when they don't have the means to get it cut themselves, or it just costs. They may live in an area where it's astronomical for them to get the plates cut because I offer the drawing files are on the forum for download. They can take those files, go get the parts cut, things like that. The only thing I just ask if somebody needs parts cut, not for another member to cut it for them, because I could make a little money that way.
Mm-hmm.
It's and it helps me with my, so to speak, research, development, forum, everything. It adds up, especially when you're doing a design and you're buying parts for the machine 3 or 4 times over, trying to design something. So, yeah, I mean, everything is there that a person can take and just build the machine themselves. It's real. It's not complicated, and the Evolution machine made it easier, I think.
Mm-hmm. I agree. So, yeah, I'm kind of a curator type person. Like, I'll go through and I'll learn something, and then I'll gather together all the links or wherever you can find that information, and I'll post it. I did that a couple of times in the forum on different subjects, because been difficult to find this information. And
Yeah, the forum's grown so much, and to start with, it was a small little forum, and you could find things, and now it's grown so much and so much information in there that if you're good at searching forums, you can find it real easy.
mm-hmm.
But if you're not accustomed to that, it could be a little overwhelming. And that's the first thing I tell people, get the plans, get into the forum, and just relax and just start looking.
Mm-hmm.
Don't make a decision to start with. If you don't build the machine, don't build the machine. If you find something different, then go ahead and build that. But having access to the forum, you can see the different builds, how people have done their builds, what steps they did first to do their builds, and you can just start making your notes and be a little methodical about it.
Yeah. There are what we refer to as build logs all throughout the forum. There's literally 1,000 or more of them. I mean, I'm looking at the Joe CNC forum right now, and there are a total of 115,807 posts in this forum right now on 6,331 topics.
Yeah.
And you think about just the sheer volume of that. Well, you obviously know because you have to pay the server bill, but that's a lot of posts about a lot of different subjects. And
when I back up just the forums, it takes when I do a backup, it takes I guess about a little over 12 hours to download just the forum information.
Yeah.
Because in my forum, I don't like having links to pictures. Okay, because somebody may have a picture server, and then later on they go a different direction, and then they take that down, and then you've got a forum that has empty picture. You get a box question mark or a little X up there. And when I was on forums, I always hated that because, you're reading, and you're expecting to see something, and then you can't see it.
Mm-hmm.
I just do not like that myself. So that's why on my forum, most of the pictures are just uploaded there and it's saved to the server. Literally hundreds of thousands.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's an amazing thing. You're in the process of creating a more updated version of your landing page for your website, and I know that you just recently upgraded the forum.
Right.
And it's been a long process, probably longer than you thought it would be.
Yeah.
but it does look good. I'm hoping that in your future version of this, which should be hitting any day now, that you have more pictures of the Evo machine on your landing page, because unless you're in the forum or you've been on CNC Zone, you haven't really advertised it.
No, I've never advertised the machine.
Yeah, and it's a great machine.
Yeah. The new website that been working on that has a lot more detailed information, telling about the machine, pictures and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
You have to understand my web page was originally made back in 2008,
mm-hmm.
So a lot of things have changed on web page since then.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing that people don't realize is I've got the wiki is tied into the forum. Mm-hmm. So if you have access to the forum, you have access to actually a wiki. And in the wiki, a lot of people don't know there's some evolution information in there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's one of those things that if you're in the forum already, you know about. But I'm guessing there will probably be some more interest from the listeners of this broadcast in your program, and so maybe they'll know, because we've mentioned it now, that once they're in here, they'll see it in case they get there before your new website hits. So.
Yeah, the main thing I suggest to people is, just, get into the forum and just start looking around and ask questions. Don't be afraid to ask questions, because there's several people on the forum. If you look at the members list, they've got 0 posts.
Mm-hmm.
Because, you have some people that just don't feel comfortable asking questions in a forum or anything like that. But I can guarantee you, once you get into the forum, you can realize it is a little different than other forums. Mm-hmm. And it's more at ease type forum, and just feel more comfortable. Getting back to, people's life stories, I'll just give you a couple examples. There was a gentleman, he was in his late 80s, that actually got the plans, got into the forum, and he emailed me to thank me because it actually stimulated his brain, gave him something to strive for, and his health improved, and he contributed to being on the forum, started actively building the machine, and being a little bit more active on something, on an interest of his. That's one situation. There's another situation where we had a member that was in a desperate situation. He was ready to lose his house, vehicles, and everything because no job or anything. He built the machine and started cutting things, selling, and now he bought a new truck. His house is paid for now, mm-hmm. And it's just the incentive that he got.
Yeah, it is truly awe-inspiring when somebody takes the bull by the horns and goes and doubles down and bets on themselves. And I can't explain what happens, but when they do, everything in the universe rushes in to help them succeed. And this is the kind of thing where if a guy is serious about it, he can make a living with his CNC machines.
That's right.
Yeah, it's just that simple, and they just have to believe. So yeah, I could go on for days about all the great friendships that have developed, through this forum with people and folks that have either helped me or I've helped them or whatever, and it just is a special forum, and that's all I'm gonna say on the subject.
Yeah. We have so many members now, that we actually have a map that shows members. It's not updated 100% or anything, but you can see the versatility of the members around, and people go and visit one another.
Yep.
They ask, "Can I come see your machine?" "Oh yeah, come on over. Have a beer. Let's go eat dinner or whatever." I've had people come to my house here, mm-hmm. wanted to see the machine. If you remember Kent,
yep,
on the forum,
yep,
him and his son came over to my house when he first got the plans. He wanted to see the machine, and he's another person that, as you say, took the bull by the horns. He actually designed a dust shoe that people use.
Yeah, this Kent CNC.
It's like the number one dust shoe to use right now.
Yeah,
that's
if I'm not mistaken, I think he just got a one of the major companies. He's is using his machine. His dust shoe with their machines now.
That's right. Yeah,
I forget which brand.
You got Shopbot people that switched over to his dust shoe,
mm-hmm.
And it all came from him building the machine himself.
Mm-hmm. And we got to watch his design process while he was designing the thing.
That's right.
Yeah. I mean, there are a lot of people who come up with a little niche product, and that's what they do, and that's how I came up with the triple edge finder. Same situation. So it's the inspiration and knowing that if I say, "Hey guys, here's a design I'm working on. What do you see?" And everybody will come back and say, "Well, what about this? What about that?"
Mm-hmm.
Some changes you can make, others you can't, and you go forward, and your product is better for it.
Yeah, it's like having your own private think tank.
Yep, exactly. So, I really have enjoyed being a member of this forum. It's just, I modeled my Facebook group after the way that you manage your forum. Everybody welcome, everybody contribute, and it is a really good way to meet people, and it's a great way to share your information and your passion for something. And I think you're doing a great job with that.
I've had many people ask me, well, why don't you make the forum public, get more people involved? Well, my thinking is when you do something like that, you're getting people that's not 100% committed into the project, into the forum, and you got a lot of naysayers.
Yeah.
And that's where forums go downhill to me. So that's why I've kept the forum private all these years.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, it's paid off.
Yeah. I definitely can see that, because when you've got just anyone coming into a forum or a community or Facebook group or whatever it is, if their goal isn't the same as yours, there's going to be friction, and friction is what messes up the group.
And you get the type of people, what's called trolls.
Yeah.
They're just trolling for trouble,
mm-hmm.
just to see if they can get a rise out of you.
Yeah.
It's like, that's not what it's about.
No, that's not what it's about at all. Now, let me ask you, Joe, if you could work on any project that you wanted to in the next 6 months, money was no object, and you knew you couldn't fail, what project would you work on?
Doesn't have to be CNC related, does it?
No. No, what would you do?
I actually got a project in the works. I'm actually building my own ultralight plane.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I got to hear more.
It's called Legal Eagle.
Okay.
I've got the fuselage welded up. I'm started working on the landing gear. And what's interesting about that plane, it doesn't look like an ultralight. It looks like a nostalgic plane. One I'm building is called Legal Eagle XL.
Mm-hmm.
The guy Leonard Milholland did the design back in '96 for it, and he wanted a plane that was ultralight, legal to fly. Ultralight plane, you don't have to have a license as long as it meets certain specifications. And the other thing about that plane, it uses a Volkswagen engine. It's called some people call it half B dub, or half Volkswagen. You use the two front cylinders and block off the rear two. It put the one that I'm doing. It put out probably about 40 to 42 horsepower.
Okay.
And wooden prop. You got to use that on that engine, and it just adds to the nostalgic of the plane.
Yeah, so, it looks like there's not much aft of the cockpit other than open tubing. Oh. Yeah. Are you?
Yeah, you're looking at one right now.
Yeah, I am. Mm-hmm. Are you making parts of it on your Joe CNC?
Yeah. I cut some of the plates and for the landing gear and things like that on it. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Oh, was that okay? Because earlier you said you were cutting some steel. Was that for the Legal Eagle?
That was actually for a barbecue pit.
Oh, barbecue pit. Sorry about that.
A friend of mine.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I've cut some chromoly. It's called a chromoly. That's what it's made out of. It's super light and super tough.
Very good. And, well, you've got to post pictures of that, and as the build progresses, if you've got one to share, I would love to post it up with this podcast interview so the folks could get a peek at it.
Well, right now all I have is a fuselage welded. That's it. Oh. Still waiting for parts on the engine and things like that. So. Mm-hmm. I'd say at this stage, it's not much to post. I just started it no more than a month ago or so.
Okay.
So, and it's one of those projects that it'll probably take about a year to year and a half to build.
Mm-hmm.
So I try to. It's like one hobby after another.
Oh yeah,
But my CNC is always there.
yeah, yeah. It's funny because I started my CNC so that I could build model airplane parts because I used to sell kits. But the funny part is that CNC became my new hobby, and I still have yet to build a model airplane part with the CNC. So maybe I'll try and get that crossed off my bucket list this spring. But yeah.
Yeah, we have several guys on the forum that's cutting out that are, they're even cutting out foam planes and everything on their CNC machine, and flying them around. You remember a guy, Al, he actually was doing little intricate parts for a model tank.
That's
Do you remember
right.
that?
Yeah, it was like a quarter scale or so Sherman tank I think he was working on.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All the treads, and it was amazing.
Yeah, you just sat down and designed it out and cut it on a CNC. Excellent looking, too.
Yeah. He was doing all the bogey wheels and everything. It was just an amazing piece of engineering.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, and I know several boat builders who've built actual get in the water type boats using the Joe's CNC router.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just pretty much everything. There's another fellow on the forum who's also building an ultralight, although his is out of aluminum sheet, and he's using his hybrid to cut the wing ribs so that he can press his aluminum into shape.
Yeah. He cut the mold and you form the aluminum ribs around it.
So it's really, these are dream machines. That's what I like to call CNC routers, because if you've got a dream, you can probably make it with a CNC router. Almost anything. So.
Yeah, and you'll find yourself, you'll be somewhere and you'll just look at something, you say, I can do that on my machine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know how many times I've done it. Yeah.
And even to this day, I still stand there and watch the machine move and in amazement.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you should be doing something else, but you're standing there watching the gantry go back and forth and up and down. Yeah, and it's mesmerizing.
And you think to yourself, I built that.
Yep, I built that.
And then, of course, you got your relatives that while you're building it, they don't think it's going to be very successful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I do not know of one failed attempt to build the CNC machine. I really don't. Not unless they just quit building, but not of a machine being a failure when it's built.
Yeah, everybody that I think you're absolutely correct. Everyone that started and finished has a machine that can do anything. There have been one or two people who have started and then had some life changes or whatever, and didn't finish, but they sold their machine to somebody else who finished it up. So
that's right.
Yeah. There's enough information between the forum and the plans to complete this project. Period.
Well, and the helpfulness of other members. I mean, you can ask a question, and a few minutes later, you've got your answer.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I've seen it in materials. Sometimes, I'll say, "Oh, where do you get this?" And guy says, "Hey, I've got an extra one. I'll send it to you."
Mm-hmm.
Out of the goodness of their heart, and that's it's rare, but it happens all the time in the forum. So, yeah. Hey, I don't, and my purpose for having you on wasn't to go rah rah rah, go Joe's forum, but it has been a life changer. It really has. I couldn't imagine how long it would have taken me to get to this point if it hadn't been for your forum.
Well, like you were mentioning in your other podcast, different. There's different plans out there. There's different machines to build. The person just needs to decide for themselves what's the best thing for them.
Mhm.
You know, if it's a Joe CNC, good. If it's not, it may be a mech made. It may be, you know, or they may decide to go and buy a machine like the ShopBot or something of that nature.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just something they need to sit down and just look at and see, what's really the best for myself.
Yeah, I agree. Okay. I really enjoyed talking with you about this, Joe. It's kind of strange that in all the years that we've been on the forum that we haven't really done this before, but this is very cool to me, to have a chance to do this. Just, talk about what we love.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And
yeah.
I really do thank you for taking the time to come and be on the podcast.
No, I appreciate you having me. It was fun. I enjoyed it.
I'm glad. So, how can people best get a hold of you or get in contact with you to find out more about your projects?
Well, they can always email me at joecnc2006@yahoo.com. I'm always open to conversations or anything. If they have any questions, feel free to ask.
So it's joecnc2006@yahoo.com.
Yes.
And Joe, one more time, what is the URL for your website?
That's Joe's. That's plural. joecnc.com.
The current price of membership in your forum?
Well, the plan and the forum access that I give to the people, right now I charge $75.
Okay. Yep. So that includes the plans for the machines that we've mentioned and membership.
Yes.
Thank you again, Joe, and look forward to talk to you again.
All right. Thank you very much.
I often mention many different types of software during the episodes and hardware and cutters, and it can get a little confusing. So what I did was I put together a page on my website, cncroutertips.com/resources. And on that page, I list all sorts of resources there, from books to tools to software, all the things that I use that make my CNC experience better and easier. And I hope you'll check it out. So again, it's cncroutertips.com/resources. Well, there you have it, folks. That was Joe Cantrill of joecnc.com. I hope you enjoyed listening to it as much as I enjoyed having Joe on this show. If you like that episode, I think you're going to enjoy the next one we have planned for you. We're going to be speaking with Dave Gatton of Sidewinder CNC and GarageWorksCNC.com. So tune in to the next episode, and I look forward to hearing from you. If you'd like to leave a comment about the show, it would be very much appreciated if you could leave a rating and review on iTunes. There is instructions on how to do that, along with links that will take you right to the page that you need to go to in order to leave a review on iTunes. Just go to cncroutertips.com/25. That's cncroutertips.com/25. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day. Now, if you'd like to have your question featured on the air, here's how. Need help? Ask me about your CNC router question on my podcast, the CNC Router Tips Podcast. I'll be glad to help or try and get you the help you need. I want this podcast to be a fun and personal experience for everyone, and helpful. So let's keep it real and ask sensible questions. Please use common sense and show courtesy to everyone. That way everybody wins. Here are some guidelines to ensure that your question is qualified to be featured on the show. Please keep your questions under 1 minute in length. If it goes a little over that, that's fine, but don't ramble. If you have a website and URL, you're allowed to share it. but only once during the recording. Spammy or disrespectful or deeply private questions will not be considered for the podcast. If you need to ask more than one question, just make each question a separate voicemail. Thanks again, everyone, for tuning in and listening to the CNC Router Tips podcast. If you'd like to join our free mailing list, you can go to CNCRouterTips.com, and there's a link right there on the top of the page which tells you how to do that. Thank you so much and have a great day.